Yeah.
You've got one more year ahead of you. What are your priorities for 2019?
So obviously the 2020 budget is a priority. I'm not going to have I don't expect to have any labor reductions or consolidations like we had in the last budgets. So that's going to make it difficult. We have been running an average in 3 years of a 1.1% growth rate, budget growth rate. So I have been able to slow down, or we have, because it's really the town departments working with them, been able to slow down the growth. We have also returned $2 million in the 3 years that have closed during my time in office.
That's significant.
Yeah, and some of that is because we didn't budget to eliminate some of those positions, or we didn't budget, say, to consolidate the CFO. So we've had savings in that regard, and we've had a lot of turnover, which, based on the years of service that people have been here, we knew that turnover was going to happen. So every time there's a vacancy, we look at it and we say, do we need to fill it? And even if we need to fill it, it takes time. So a lot of that $2 million has been labor savings. Some of it's this permanent, and some of it that was just temporary, but we were able to take advantage of it. And that $2 million, what happens is it goes back into the general fund as undesignated, and that's the money that the Board of Finance can now then pull into the next year's budget to reduce what the tax bill is for the residents. So the money really does go back. So this is going to be tough. Healthcare is one of the big issues, has been every year. Everybody knows that. They've seen their own escalating costs. We are looking at the state has a plan that they developed for municipalities. Without questions, there's savings as a result of it. We're now doing the analysis of how does that compare to our plan. Is the savings real? Is the state subsidizing this plan, and when the subsidies goes away, what's the penalty if you leave that plan? We're going through that whole analysis now. And of course, some of our unions, we have negotiated that we can open up health, and others we're going to have to negotiate it. So it's not going to be a quick overnight, but it is part of something that we're looking at in this budget. The biggest risk in the 2020 budget is the potential of a pension push down from the state. I started talking about this a couple of years ago. For a long time, I'm one of the few people who reads the entire financial statement, including all the footnotes. And so you see the growth in that number in June 30, 2015 financial statements. The payment made by the state on behalf of Wilton teachers into the pension plan was $7 million. In June of 2017, the number is $14.5 million. So it's not, it was clear that the state was going to do something about this. So I don't know.
There was a threat last year.
That's right.
And it didn't materialize. But
that's
this
right.
year,
He put it out there. I think it's still there on the table. So, we'll have to see what, the result. We've got a lot of new people. We have a new governor. But the pension problem is huge. The debt problem is huge. And the only component that really involves the municipalities is the teacher pension. And so I'm expecting that we're going to get something. So we're doing now. Whether that has anything to do with my budget, or if that whole amount goes against the Board of Education budget, or I don't know where it's going to come out. But if we were to have to pick up $1 million or $2 million or $3 million of pension, it affects anybody. It does everyone. It doesn't make any difference what budget it's going to come out of. It's a major expense for the town to absorb. So that's always going to be in the back of my mind as we go into this budget. And based on the way that things have gone, surprises come from Hartford near the end of their process. And so, we could be done with our budgets and find out about it. But that, I talked a little bit about infrastructure, and then the other area of focus for me is preparing for when the moratorium on 830G ends, and that ends at the end of December of 2019. So if anybody doesn't know what 830G is, that refers to a Connecticut statute that allows a developer to pretty much get around almost all of our zoning regulations if they are going to have a 30% affordable component of their project. So if you want to come in here and you want to put an apartment building, it's 30% affordable, then and you can come in with a proposal that's 8 stories high, even though we don't allow 8 stories. And it's very difficult to deal with. People may remember 44 Westport Road, where a developer wanted to put in 20 units at that corner of Dudley and Westport Road. That was an 830G. So we have a moratorium, and as I say, it ends at the end of December. My approach has been to try to get as many of the places where you might want to put an 830G filled with a development that we as a town are comfortable with. Generally, you're going to want to put 830G where there is sewer and water, which means Route 7. So residents would prefer any development to happen on Route 7. So we've really seen a pickup in activity on 7. You can kind of see the open spaces, and if people have been following it, then they know we have the corner of Sharp Hill and 7. That's been purchased. Something's going in there. Probably a mixed use is what I'm expecting. We have the assisted living where Orms was across the street. We now know the Church of the Latter-day Saints is going to be buying that. 300 Danbury Road, obviously, that's happening.
Which is the Wilton Heights project.
The Wilton Heights, and the other big parcel was the corner of Pimpawag and 7, and Bright View Living has come in with that. I know there's some people who say, ugh, not another senior living project. Couple of things. One, that is where demand is. If you look at the demographics, you can see the growth that's going to happen in that population who needs that as baby boomers age out. You know, my dad's 91 years old. A year ago, we moved him to or helped him move to a senior housing. It's independent living, but it has these great services, and he loves it. He wasn't enthusiastic about it, but now he goes down to yoga class and exercise class, and he can play, cards with somebody or socialize in the social rooms. So it is good, and there's a lot of people in this town in my age or younger who have parents who are hitting those ages and looking to bring them to town. So it not only benefits the seniors that are here or maybe seniors in neighboring communities, but it benefits people my age. And Heather, you're probably going to get that to that point yourself.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Mom, if you're watching.
Yeah. So the other thing is those facilities bring in a lot of tax dollars. But other than, a higher frequency of medical assistance from maybe the fire department or the police department or EMS, they don't really cause a drain on services. So for instance, the 2 facilities that we have right now, we collect over $600,000 in property taxes. So that goes a long way to helping out with the other costs. Mm-hmm. The objective is not to generate more revenue so we can spend more revenue. The objective is to generate the revenue so we can slow the growth of the mill rate, keep the mill rate flat or something like that. It's not let's have them build so we can go spend it on something.
Right.
So those are the main priorities for 29 within the town budget. I've talked to one legislature representative, I guess state senator. You reported that yesterday. Had a meeting with our state senator. I'm having a meeting with Gail Lavielle. I'm trying to bring Gail Lavielle, Tom O'Day, and Will Haskell together into a meeting with all the town department heads so we can talk about our priorities for their next session, their 2019 session. So, and that, of course, we'll talk about the pension, we'll talk about infrastructure, the Grumman Hill intersection, we really need to get that done. There's a lot more enhancements that could be done to 7. So that's a priority. And then the other is binding arbitration. I don't know if most people know how that works in Connecticut, but it's state law, and when you go to arbitration in negotiating your contract, you each put your best offer on the table, and the arbiter is required to pick one or the other. The arbiter doesn't have the discretion, which you would have in most arbitrations, where you listen to the two sides and then the arbiter comes up with what they think makes sense. It's a column A, column B, and you pick. So it just sets it up, it makes it costly for everybody participating, though more so for the towns. And it's just not the way to come up with the best arrangements. So that's something that I hope that we can make some progress on, and we really need to if we want to move towards more regionalized, more sharing of services between towns.